head with obligations before I learned to talk. They said you owe your silence and you owe your sweat and bone. You owe us your ambitions and you owe us what you own. I carried every expectation like a chain around my neck. I bent myself to fit the mold and left myself a wreck. I bled for their approval and I starved for their regard, and I paid in years of living for a love that came too hard. I gave him all my mornings and I gave him all my nights. I gave him my convictions and I gave him all my fights. I shaped myself to their design like clay beneath the hand, and lost the man I was becoming, trying hard to meet demand. But one cold morning, standing in the ruins of my giving, I looked at all I'd sacrificed and called it what it was. A life spent paying interest on a debt that had no ceiling. A man erased by obligation and another person's cause. I owe them nothing, not a single breath a day. I owe them nothing for the price they made me pay. I owe them nothing for the years I bent and bled. I owe them nothing, I have paid enough instead. I owe them nothing, not my silence or my shame. I owe them nothing, not my glory or my name. I owe them nothing for the chains they called a gift. I owe them nothing, and that nothing sets me free adrift. They came with their requirements, dressed in love and dressed in need. They wrapped their expectations in the language of a creed. They said a man like you should carry what we place upon his back, and they piled on the burdens till my spine began to crack. I watched them take my harvest while they left me with the stone. I watched them claim my victories and leave me with the bone. I watched them fill their pockets with the currency of my pain and come back every season asking me to bleed again. But I have done the mathematics of this long and even trade. I have counted every sacrifice and every price I paid, and the ledger shows a deficit that runs from here to gone, a debt that was always mine to pay and never theirs to own. So I lay the burden down today without apology or grief. I set the chains upon the ground and breathe the air of relief, not in anger and not bitter, but with something cold and clear, the clarity of a man who knows exactly why he's here. I owe them nothing, not a single breath a day. I owe them nothing for the price they made me pay. I owe them nothing for the years I've been and bled. I owe them nothing, I have paid enough instead. I owe them nothing, not my silence or my shame. I owe them nothing, not my glory or my name. I owe them nothing for the chains they called a gift. I owe them nothing, and nothing sets me free adrift. There's a certain kind of freedom that arrives without a sound, when a man stops paying debts that were never truly owed. When he looks the world directly and he lays his burden down, and he walks away from everything that bent him toward the ground. This ain't cruelty and this ain't coldness. This is long overdue. This is knowing what was taken and refusing to renew. This is drawing a clean border where the bleeding used to be. This is finally understanding that my life belongs to me. I owe them nothing, I settled every score. I owe them nothing, I won't bleed for them no more. I owe them nothing for the hollow years they kept. I owe them nothing for the promises they never made. I owe them nothing, not my fire or my fire. I owe them nothing, I reclaim this life tonight. I owe them nothing for the man they tried to make. I owe them nothing, I owe nothing for my own damn sake. Oh, oh. So I walk away from everything they placed upon my name, from every chain disguised as love and every debt they claimed. I'll leave it all behind me like a coat I'll never wear. I owe them nothing, and then nothing fills the open air.